Sir, please start.
Good evening, madam. My best congrats to IIU for conducting such a noble work toward the globe. My best wishes to the founder of this esteemed university and Dr. Snigdha, madam, a very friendly and very respective personality. Now we'll start with a good theme, biodiversity and its conservation. Before start with my talk, let us just have a glance of 2 minutes. That is how the evaluation of the life that begins. See, the formation of the universe that began 15 billion years ago. The clouds of the hydrogen and helium, gravitational forces collapsed these clouds to form the stars. Formation of carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen for the life. Explosion of some of these stars to form the clouds. Formation of water, carbon monoxide, and hydrocarbons. Formation of the new generation of the stars and the solar system collapsing the clouds. Formation of planet Earth. Origin of the life on the planet Earth. Yeah, see, some of my contests today, I want to discuss with you biodiversity, levels or types of the biodiversity, values of biodiversity, hotspot of biodiversity, criteria of determine the hotspot, the threat to the biodiversity, conservation of biodiversity. This is actually the important discussion I want to be. Then the importance of biodiversity. What I scheduled is exactly 35 to 38 minutes. Later we'll see about what and all the time permits will go for the further. Yeah, what do you mean by biodiversity? Because people very familiar. Biodiversity generally, it is the variety and the differences among the living organisms from all the sources, including terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystem, sand and ecological complexes of which they are part. Very simple definition. Biodiversity is the variety and variability among the living organisms and ecological complexes in which they occur. This may also going to be have the definition for the biodiversity. It is virtually synonymous with life on Earth. Biologists, most of them, they define biological diversity or biodiversity as the totality of the genes, species, and ecosystem of a region. The biodiversity found on the Earth today that consists of many millions of distinct biological species, which is the product of nearly 3.5 billion year of evaluation. So that's what I given my introductory, what you call it, a quote in the beginning. Yeah, biodiversity, the word that found on the Earth today that consists of many millions of distinct biological species, which is the product of nearly 3.5 billion years of evaluation. That's what how the evaluation that begins. I already explained you what and all the carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen for the life, explosion of some of these stars to form the clouds, formation of water, carbon monoxide, and hydrocarbons, formation of the new generation of stars and solar systems of collides. These are the things I explained you. That is the origin of life. Maybe that is the point to be noted on the planet of the Earth. That's very, very important thing to be noted in a biological way. So whatever the thing, but the prebiotic Earth, the life that begins 4.5 billion years ago on the Earth. There are some confusion somewhere. The point to be noted at 3.5 billion, like that. Somewhere they put it at the 4.5 billion years ago. So these are some references that varies. But life began 4.5 billion years ago on the Earth. The ocean received the organic matter, formation of the key molecules, maybe sugars, amino acid, nucleotides in water, or development of the RNA and DNA molecules, the formation of the prokaryotic cells and the prokaryotic organisms. So that also going to be considered here. That is the early evaluation of the life, because The biodiversity definition, what I covered there is that biochemical evaluation of the single-celled microorganisms, the development of the eukaryotic cell and the unicellular eukaryotic organisms, development of the multicellular complex eukaryotic organisms. So these are the things which we are considering under the product of nearly 3.5 billion about the evaluation of the advance of the life. That's very, very important things to be noted. Okay, yeah, right. Now come to the biodiversity directly, the point that is uh, uh, the level of or the types, you may call it the biodiversity, is one is community and ecosystem diversity. Community and ecosystem diversity, that is which cover different habitats, niches, species, interactions. That's what the definition for the biodiversity that holds good here. What the word we use there, biodiversity or the biological diversity is the variation of taxonomic life forms, that different habitat, niches, species, interactions. This is the word. Whereas the species diversity, that is the different kinds of organisms, relationship among the species. The word definition of biodiversity is biodiversity that refers to the variety and variability among the all groups of living organisms and the ecosystem complexes in which they occur. That's what species diversity. Genetic diversity. Genetic diversity is the different genes and combination of genes within the population. These are the levels to be considered. See, community and ecosystem diversity, species diversity, genetic diversity. Okay, biodiversity, the ranges, that is genetic level to within the species to the biota in a specific region and may extend up to the great diversity found in the different biomes. Genetic diversity, how you will define? Yeah, first you take genetic diversity of the genes within a species. Diversity of genes within species, there is genetic variability among the population and the individuals of the same species. Interesting point. Genetic diversity is the diversity of the genes within species. There is genetic variability among the populations and the individuals of the same species. That is genetic diversity. Species diversity. Species diversity, simple definition. See, I use the term different kinds of the organisms, relationship among the species. Same thing. Species diversity is the diversity among the species in an ecosystem. Biodiversity hotspot are the excellent examples of the species diversity. Simple. Diversity among the species in an ecosystem. Biodiversity hotspots are the excellent examples of the species diversity. Note this point, very, very important. Biodiversity hotspot are the excellent examples of the species diversity. Genetic diversity given, whereas the ecosystem diversity, or I use the term community and ecosystem diversity, both. Ecosystem diversity, diversity at a higher level of organization, the ecosystem. Yeah, these are the things to be noted about these things. Whereas, take the best example. Vertebrate animals, just for sharing with you, vertebrate animals, mammals, imagine 5,490, reptiles 9,084, amphibians 6,433, fishes 31,300, overall vertebrate 62,305. This is about the vertebrate diversity. vertebrate diversity is 62,305. There, mammals is 5,000 odd, birds is 9,000 odd, reptiles is 9,000 odd, amphibians is 6,000 odd, fishes is 31,000 odd. Whereas the same thing, come to the point about the invertebrate animals. Invertebrate animals, whereas here the point is to be noted, insects is insect to be counted about the 10 lakh above. Okay, 10 lakh above insect. Spider and scorpions, that's near about lakhs together. We'll say 1,03,000 odd. Of course, the references that number may varies. Mollusk, 85,000. Crustaceans, 47,000. Corals, 2,000 odd. Others, 68,000 odd. Total invertebrate is around 13 lakh. 62,000 vertebrate. Total invertebrate is 13 lakhs. Now, just for referring the plants, whereas here the flowering plants, 2 lakh odd, 2,80,000 odd. Gymnosperm, 1,000. Whereas the ferns, 12,000. Mosses, 16,000. Red and green algae, 10,000. Totally plant is 3,21,000. Whereas the others, just for noting, lichens, 17,000. Mushroom, 31,000. Brown algae, 3,000. See, just I'm giving the rough numbers. Okay, with what you call it, the round figure I'm going to be giving here. See, the total species, 17 lakh. 17 lakh is the total species. This is to be noted. Important point to be noted about the level of biodiversity, whereas the highlights about the importance thing to be for biodiversity and its level. Whereas the important point to be noted here is community and ecosystem diversity. Same thing what I discussed with you is ecosystem diversity refers to the diversity of a place at the level of ecosystem. These are three perspectives. Again, the community at the ecosystem diversity have the three important what you call it at the perspectives. Number one, alpha diversity within the community diversity. Alpha diversity that refers to the diversity of the organism sharing the same community or the habitat. Same community or the habitat. Whereas the beta diversity, that between the community diversity, it refers to the diversity of organism sharing two habitat. Whereas the gamma diversity, the diversity of the habitat over the total landscape or the geographical area, that's called the gamma diversity. Whereas come to the point about to the species diversity. Important things to be noted about the species diversity. That is, it refers to the variety of the species within the region. Species diversity, it refers to the variety of the species within the region, whereas the species diversity is an index that is the incorporates the number of the species in an area and also the relative abundance. Okay, it is generally a much more useful value than the species richness. See, the importance is given for the same aspect about to the species diversity, that it refers to the variety of the species within a region, whereas the species diversity is an index that is the incorporates the number of species in an area and also their relative abundance, whereas it is generally a much more useful value than the species richness. Species richness. Now come to the point. Genetic diversity. Genetic diversity, it's a level of biodiversity that refers to the total number of genetic characteristics in the genetic makeup of a species. Genetic diversity, it's a level of biodiversity that refers to the total number of genetic characteristics in the genetic makeup of a species. It's a distinguished from genetic variability, which describes the tendency of genetic characteristic to vary. Important, please. Let's just glance the term what I use for genetic diversity. It's a level of biodiversity that refers to the total number of genetic characteristics in the genetic makeup of a species. It is distinguished from the genetic variability, which describes the tendency of genetic characteristic to vary. Whereas C, first and foremost thing know about the level of biodiversity. Well, friends, why you are giving much importance for the biodiversity? What is the value? Value for the biodiversity. The value of biodiversity. See, in terms of value, that is the commercial utility. I will explain you. I will go. Don't worry. Commercial utility, then ecological services, social and aesthetic value. The multiple uses of the biodiversity are very, very important to be noted. See, the first and foremost thing is to be knowing the point about the productivity, use value, social value, aesthetic value, optional value, ecosystem service value. Okay, take about the food. About 80,000 edible plants and about 90% of the present day food crops have been domesticated from the wild. Imagine the value of the biodiversity. Value of biodiversity is about 80% of the edible plants and about 90% of the present day the food crops have been domesticated from the wild. First thing noted. See, next important is drugs and the medicine. Drugs and the medicines. See, about 75,000 world population that depend upon the plants and the plant extract. See, 75% of the world population that depends on the plants and the plant extract. Fuel. See, the forests have been used since ages for the fuel food. Possible fuels are also the product of biodiversity. Whereas the social value, so why you are giving the value for the biodiversity? Social value. Many of the plants like tulsi, lotus, people tea, etc., are considered the holy and sacred. About 2.1 million species have been identified till date, while many of more species are believed to be exist. India's position 10th in the world and 4th in the Asian of the most plant diversity. See, the value of biodiversity is to be noted here. Okay, about 80% of the edible plants and about the 90% of the present day food crops have been domesticated from the world. Drugs and the medicines, 75% of the world population that depending upon the plants and the plant extract, fuel, forecast have been used since ages for the fuel, wood, fossil fuels are also product of the biodiversity. Social value, that's very, very important. Many of the plants, you have taken the best example, tulsi, lotus, people, etc. First of the holy and the sacred. Okay, are in terms, energy resource. fuel, forest that's used for the fuel wood, fossil fuel, coal, petroleum. Natural gas are also the product of the fossil biodiversity. See, different furnitures. Just to highlighting. Okay, different furnitures. Okay, then commercially usable values where the products are marketed and sold, while gene resources that traded or used by the scientists for introducing the desirable traits in the crops and the domesticated animals also noted point. The tusk of the elephant, musk from the musk deer, silk from the silkworms, wool from the sheep, biodiesel, petroleum product. See, just highlighting values of biodiversity, where we are going to be give the importance there about to the productive use value with the commercially usable values, where the product is marketed and sold. The wild gene resources, use the term, you can take the best example about the traded for use with the scientists for introducing the desirable traits in the crops and the domesticated animals. See, take the tusks of elephants, musk from the musk deer, silk from the silkworm, and wool from the sheep or biodiesel product. These are the things. Or you take the industry dependent upon the productive use and value of the biodiversity. See, where paper and the pulp, okay, plywood, rubber, textile, leather, also the best example. Okay, then social values. One I just highlighted, the Tulsi people, even mango, lotus, they are considered the holy, and their leaves, fruits, and the flowers are used in the worship. Values associated with the social life, that is our custom, our religion, our psycho spiritual aspect of the people. These are things to be noted about the biodiversity of the social value. Then ethical value can consider here. Ethical value, ethical issues like all life must be preserved based on the concept of live and let live. This is important. Ethical value, the value of biodiversity is the ethical value. Why you are using the word term for live and let live? How ethical issues like the all life must be preserved. This is the important things to be noted. Okay, about to the value. Uh, uh, about to the value and other aspect to be noted. Important things for the biodiversity and its conservative procedures. Okay. Next important point to be noted about the hotspot of biodiversity. Hotspot of biodiversity. See, a biodiversity hotspot is a biogeographical region within the significant reservoir of the biodiversity, and that is threatened within the destructions. Within the destructions. See, a biodiversity hotspot is a biogeographical region within the significant reservoir of the biodiversity that is threatened with the destructions. An area is designated as the hotspot when it contains at least 0.5% of the plant species as endemic. See, noted this point. Very, very important point to be noted these things. That is, an area designated as hotspot when it contains at least 0.5% of the plant species as endemic. There are 25 such hotspot of biodiversity on the global level, out of which 2 are present in India. See, there are 25 such hotspots of biodiversity on the global level, out of which 2 are presented in India. These are Indo-Burman, okay, earlier the Eastern Himalaya and the Western Ghat. See, for your kind information, I am living in the belt of the Western Ghat. I did more than 75 PBRs in the Western Ghat remote villages. 75 PBRs, 75 Gram Panchayats, they are coming under the Western Ghat belt. I myself did the research on PBRs. So these are the things in the Western Ghat belt. So Western Ghat belt is one of the hotspot, is to be noted here. And Sri Lanka, of course. These hotspots covering less than 2% of the world's land area are found to have about 50% of the terrestrial biodiversity. Terrestrial biodiversity. So hotspot of biodiversity, now I consider to be the point. Okay. Next important point to be noted about criteria for determining hotspot. Not too much. That is number of endemic species, the sea species like that only. That we'll see in future if time and situation permits. We'll go deeply about these things. What is the criteria to announce the important? But point is my previous these things, that is the what is the option for the values of biodiversity, values that include the potential of biodiversity that are presently unknown and need to be explored. Important point. Next, this few point. What is the threat to the biodiversity? Threat to the biodiversity is the extinction in a natural event and from a geological perspective routine. In last century, just recent, human impact has been so severe that thousands of the species and varieties are becoming the extinct annually. Some of these main causes are: one is habitat loss, degradation, fragmentation. Habitat loss and the degradation are the major causes of species extinct, affecting 89% of all the threatened birds and 83% of the mammals and 91% of all threatened plant. That is IUCN recorded in 2000 about the figure. The main cause of the habitat are agricultural activities, mining, development of the human settlement industry. See, now just thinking about the what and all the threats for the biodiversity. That is, threat for the biodiversity is extinction in a natural event and from a geographical perspective, that routine. In last century, the human impact that decided about have been the so severe that thousands of species and varieties are becoming the extinct annually. Some of the main causes are habitat loss, degradation, fragmentation. Habitat loss and degradation are the major cause of the species extinction, affecting 89% of all threatened birds, 83% of the mammals, and 91% of all threatened plant species globally. That is IUCN 2000 record. The main cause of the habitat are agricultural activity, mining development, of human settlement industry. See, these are the threat. The poaching of wildlife and man-wildlife conflict that we'll discuss later. Endangered species, what it is like that only. Now, the main point is conservation of biodiversity. Conservation of the biodiversity, important point. The conservation of biodiversity is to be noted here. That is, the Convention on Biological Diversity held in June 1992 stressed the need of the conservation of biodiversity for sustainable development and protection of the human beings on the earth. Conservation is defined. See, this is the test we must give here. Conservation is defined as the management of the human use of the biosphere so that it may yield the greatest sustainable benefits to the present generation while maintaining its potential to meet the needs and the aspiration of the future generations. The two basic approaches to wildlife conservation is protected habitat. Number one, in situ conservation. Number two, ex situ conservation. Conservation of biodiversity, that is decided and discussed with you people. The Convention of Biological Diversity held in June 1992 stressed the need of the conservation of biodiversity for sustainable development, the perpetuation of the human beings on the earth. Conservation, really, that defined as the management of human use of the biosphere so that it may yield the greatest sustainable benefit to the present generation while maintaining its potential to meet the needs and the aspiration of the future generations. The two basic approaches to wildlife is number one, in situ conservation and ex situ conservation. In situ conservation. In situ conservation, simple. In situ conservation, it refers to the conservation of the species in its natural ecosystem or even in the man-made ecosystems. This strategy emphasizes, okay, the protection of total ecosystem through a network of protected area. Protected area mean to say that an area of land and a sea specially dedicated to the protection and maintenance of the biological diversity and managed through the legal effective means. There are different categories of protected area which are managed with different objectives. These include biosphere reserves, national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, etc. At present, we have 11 major biosphere regions that we'll see later. This is about in situ conservation. In situ conservation, very simple language. In situ conservation is to be noted. That is simple meaning I already explained to you. The species in its natural ecosystem or even man-made ecosystems. That is the best example which we are going to be considered here is there are different category of protected area which are managed with different objectives. That is best example about the biosphere reserves, national park, wildlife sanctuaries, okay, whereas other things to be noted, right? This is about in situ, whereas ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation, that is, it is defined ex situ conservation, it is defined that is the conservation of component of biological diversity, the sample of genetic diversity, particularly of endangered species, outside their natural habitat. It is other than the natural habitat. It is defined as the conservation of components, the biological diversity, the sample of genetic diversity, particularly of endangered species are outside their natural habitat. It involves maintenance and breeding of endangered plant and animal species under the partial or wholly controlled conditions like zoo, botanical garden, aquaria, nurseries, DNA bank, seed bank, gene banks, etc. Simple, simple. There are, told you already, the number, recorded number. There are more than 1,500 botanical gardens in the world containing more than 80,000 species. There are more than 800 zoos around the world in 3,000 species of mammals, reptiles and amphibians. In India, there are many gene banks. The important one are National Bureau of the Plant Genetic Resources. Okay, New Delhi. Let's take the best example. Then, well, friends, what is the main goal of conservation? Biodiversity conservation. Conservation refers that focus on protecting the entire ecosystem as well as the single species. Okay, protecting the ecosystem will ensure that the natural habitat and the interactions of many different species are preserved at the same as that is conservation challenges. What the challenges that we are going to be giving these things? Protecting resources for the future can require the people to change the way they earn their living today. Conservation challenge is the protecting the resources for the future can require the people to change the way they earn their living today. Conservation regulations must inform the solid research and the must maximum benefits while minimizing the economic cost. Minimizing the economic cost. That's what I use the term regarding the values of biodiversity many times. So that is the direct economic value, that is human dependent on the plant and the animals to provide the food, clothing. I discussed you very clearly, including the willingness to pay the concept, aesthetic value. Ecotourism is estimated to generate about $12 million of revenue annually. Imagine, ecotourism is estimated to generate about 12 million. Okay, different categories of the biodiversity value clearly indicate the ecosystems. See, these are the important things which we are going to be considering. Okay, right. Why should we protect biodiversity? That's important. Why you should protect? See, reasons to protect the biodiversity is simple. First, you take the medicinal uses. 40% of the modern medicines come from the plant and animal or the fungi. 95% of the known plant species out there tested for the medicinal values. Imagine. First is medicinal, agriculture, commercial, ecological, ethical. Medicinal, agricultural, commercial, ecological, ethical. Okay. See, medicines told you already, 40% of the modern medicines come from the plant and animals species and like that. Agriculture take 80% of the known edible plants, 80% of the known edible plants on the plant, depending on the 20 species to provide 90% of the global food supply, corn, rice, and where the 50% is alone. Loss of biodiversity in agriculture, like that. See, some best example, commercial, ecological values. What are the values of biodiversity? Okay. Why biodiversity important? I already discussed you. That is generation of the soil, maintenance of the soil quality, maintenance of the air quality, maintenance of the water quality, pest control, detoxification, decomposition, waste, pollination, crop productions, climate stabilization, preservation and mitigation of the natural disasters, provision of the food security, provisions of the healthcare, medicines, then income generation, spiritual and cultural values. See, these are the things which we are going to be discussing with you people. Thank you. Thank you, Nandal. Thank you very much. Hello, madam. Hello, madam. Hello. Hello, madam.